Welcome to a Crop Ceate delivered video tutorial from Scrapbook and Cards Today magazine. This is designer Lynn Ghahary, and today we are going to create a layout from start to finish using the Crop Ceate delivered fall kit. Let's get started. We are going to be using this sketch from Becky Fleck, which features three 3 by 2.5 inch photos. I'm going to be using a plain piece of brown cardstock as my layout base, as well as this tone-on-tone leaf patterned paper from Basil Basics. I've cut the leaf paper to 10 by 10 inches square, and you can see I'm just using my ruler to measure in 1 inch around the perimeter of the leaf patterned paper. The sketch shows a great design on the background, and I thought it was the perfect opportunity to use this circle placemat from Pink Paisley. The placemat is only 8 by 8 inches square, but I want it to cover a little bit more real estate on my layout. So you can see I'm going to manipulate it a little bit by cutting and placing it behind various pieces of patterned paper on my layout to make it appear larger. So you can see I've trimmed it vertically. I think I've left about 1.5 inches on the left side and then about 6.5 inches on the right. And this piece of blue wood grain paper will cover the portion that I've trimmed. I'm also going to do the same horizontally. Right now I'm just getting a good idea of where that plaid banner paper is going to lie. And I'm going to just make a mark with my X-Acto and then go ahead and cut it and trim it with my scissors. This is a really great example of not letting your products limit your design possibilities. Like I said, I really wanted to use this placemat, but I wanted it to cover a larger amount of space on my page. So by simply just cutting and covering and masking, you'd never know that the placemat actually wasn't as large as my leaf patterned background paper. So now I'll just go ahead and assemble everything together. It's kind of like putting a little puzzle together. I am just trying to figure out exactly where I want everything. Again, using my ruler to maintain a straight and consistent border around that leaf patterned paper, and I'm just using regular adhesive to adhere it to my background paper. Once I have all of the different pieces of the Pink Paisley placemat adhered into place, I am going to punch various pieces of patterned paper to fill some of those holes. I found that a 1 inch paper punch was the absolute perfect size to fill in the various holes on the placemat. So I am just, again, placing down those 2 pieces of patterned paper where I know that they will end up. And to make sure that I get these pieces of patterned paper exactly where I want them, I'm going to lay them out and just simply use my pencil to mark them off on my patterned paper. I'm trying to make sure that I have a consistent color design, so I'm using the orange, the green, and the yellow, and I will make sure that those papers appear basically in 3 portions of my layout, again using that design principle of the rule of 3s. Once I've decided exactly where I want all of my circles to lie, I will now just carefully pop up the placemat and add my circles with some adhesive to the penciled circles that I had done previously. You can see in some cases my placemat does shift around a little bit, and then I just added a little bit more adhesive to keep it in place. Now that I have my background completed, it's time to adhere my photos. The photos I'm using are from a family photo shoot last fall with my 2 boys. We went to the local arboretum and they were playing around in some of the leaves, and our family photographer, was able to capture these great pictures of them. One thing I just wanted to mention is I know that sometimes it's very easy to get stuck behind the camera. One thing that my husband and I have committed to is having our family photos taken by a family photographer every year. That way we can be sure that not only are our boys captured on film, but my husband and I are as well. Okay, so again, I'm just placing these photos exactly where I want them on this patterned paper. I am making sure to leave some space for that plaid patterned paper that will lie horizontally across my page. And once I decide where I want this, I'm going to go ahead and just measure out exactly where I want to have the plaid banner lie. And again, I'm just messing around a little bit with the photos here because I don't want the plaid banner to cover too much of them, so I'm just trying to get it just right. Since the circle placemat from Pink Paisley adds a bit of dimension to the page, regular adhesive won't really work on this paper strip, so I am using some thin dimensional adhesive squares to add this paper strip down the side of my page. And again, just giving a quick measure with my ruler to make sure I get it straight. And once I place that down, I will go ahead and also begin to place down the plaid banner that I've cut as well. I am also going to be using dimensional adhesive to adhere this plaid banner, again because those circle placemats add some dimension. I need to make sure that I have an adhesive that will be able to stick to my paper. Once I have that in place, I'm going to start working on adding a bit more embellishment to the banner and then placing my title. You can see here that I've cut an additional banner in the yellow solid patterned paper. It is slightly narrower than the plaid banner, and this is where I am going to place the letters and the die cutting for my title. I'm also going to be just using a very small thin strip of that brown cardstock that I used for the base of my layout. Again, just an easy way to add a little bit of detail and also to bring more color to my title. I'm using the cork printed thickers to spell out the word hello. And I apologize, that is off camera, but I'm placing the letters sort of haphazardly to add a little bit of a whimsical feel to my title. I'm placing it towards the end of the banner because the rest of my title, as well as some embellishments, will end up on the right side. Now that I have my thickers where I want them, I am going to adhere the banner to the plaid piece of patterned paper. Again, using my ruler to make sure it's straight, and then I will simply just cut off the excess. I used one of the cutting files that is included with the kit to cut the word fall from the orange polka dot patterned paper so that my title will read Hello Fall. I resized the fall to be quite large because I wanted it to be the focal part of the title. That's one thing that you can definitely do with all of the files, the cutting files that are included with the kits. You can certainly resize them to any size that works best for you. I've also used the cutting files to cut several leaves, and for this particular leaf I left it the size that it was because I'm going to be using one of the stamps from the stamp kit to add a little bit of texture to this particular patterned paper. And again, I'm just using a little foam board to give it a little bit of give, but you can see there it adds some really great texture. And now I'm just kind of folding the leaves slightly so that when I put them down, I'm just using some glue dots on the very bottom edges so that I can fold and give some dimension to the top portions so it looks like they're popping out from the page a bit. Once I have the leaves adhered, I also want to add this custom badge that was created specifically for the kit. I also want to add some of the burlap twine. So I'm just tying the twine. I've doubled the twine and I'm just tying it in a bow. And I will use a glue dot to place that down, and then I'll place the flare on top of that. For the last portion here, I am going to add the journaling. I've printed out my journaling on one of the file tabs that was included with the basic gray die cuts. I'm just stapling on the noted sticker from my mind's eye, and I'm going to slide that right behind my photos. I did do some manipulation off camera since I had that dimensional adhesive back there. I did just move some of the pieces of dimensional adhesive so that it would slide easily in there. And I also just wanted to show you I printed the date that this was taken on one of the My Mind's Eye stickers. What I often do to print on stickers is I simply cut them out and I will print whatever I want to have printed and then simply adhere the sticker over that portion on my paper and then run it through my printer again. It's super easy, but it adds a really nice finishing touch. And of course, no layout would be complete without some type of hand stitching. So I'm using actually a white gel pen this time for my hand stitching to really make it pop on that dark brown cardstock. And again, I like to do the hand stitching at places where different pattern papers meet or where I might otherwise use a machine to do some stitching. I am a little bit of a lazy scrapper and I don't always pull out my sewing machine, so hand stitching allows me to add that detail very quickly and very easily. I also want to add some of the Doodlebug pearls. I'm going to add those in a few different places around the layout, just for a little bit more detail. When I'm placing the pearls, I do try to place them, again, in a visual triangle so that the eye moves easily around the page. And here's a look at the completed layout and a few detail images. For more information about Crop and Create Delivered, please visit www.scrapbookandcards.com or www.scrapbookandcardstodaymag.typepad.com.